Good Monday morning, Market Chameleons, and everyone joining us for the first time. Thanks for coming by and checking out the Market Chameleon pre-market show, minus Dimitri Pargamonik, plus my brother Adam today. Before we get started, let's start with the disclaimer. Just take a look, read it, just so you know. Neither of the guys who look almost identical on these screens nor Market Chameleon are investment advisors. Anything we say, don't hold against us. It's for informational purposes only. Seek out a RIA, registered investment advisor, broker-dealer, to ask your questions regarding your accounts. With that, good morning, my brother.
What's up, man? From sunny Florida. Let's go.
We have a lot of chameleons in Florida, so I'm sure we'll have some comments on that. For everyone who knows, Dimitri, the co-founder of Market Chameleon, is usually on asking mostly questions chameleon related. We do have a live chat, but this is basically brought upon because he's away for 2 weeks, and we had a request from our chameleons to still keep the YouTube open, have some communication about what's going on in the market. So I will start with the pre-market show. Let me or the pre-market report Dimitri likes to do typically. Let me get that screen up. You love the pre-market report, don't you, Oak?
Bro, pre-market was my idea. I always thought pre-market was the way to go for the chameleon, man. Pre-market, you got to give the people the info before it happens, man. You got to, what's happening today? What's going to happen today?
For those who don't know, Adam was basically got pushed Dimitri and I into doing pre-market shows, doing videos, doing anything we can socially. We've done a lot of videos, that's for sure. Now we're
how many thousands of shows have you done now? Incredible, man.
I think 1,300 YouTube videos are out there. Some structured, some unstructured, like we're doing today. Our morning show. And Dimitri's also put out a lot of content related to every bit of the site. I highly recommend anyone go on the MarketChameleon.com YouTube channel. Just search Market Chameleon, they'll pop up. And there's a whole bunch of videos that have been, cataloged over the years. Actually, a lot of the early ones that still go out in introductory emails and were structured, and it was you interviewing Dimitri. I don't know if you remember those early.
Oh yeah, dude, I remember the early days, man.
Yeah,
diving deep, baby.
I mean, you couldn't at that time. Zoom, believe it or not, didn't exist.
We used to do it on Skype, man.
Yeah. There were lots of different ways to get things done. But let me go to I'm sharing the screen. Let me go to the pre-market report. Yo, have you heard anything about this Zuckerberg? I was looking at it today. Zuckerberg, Musk.
Zuckerberg, dude, it's so great.
Cage match.
It's literally the most interesting thing in the world right now.
I guess Musk is like, I'm getting a trainer. I mean, supposedly it's really gonna, but really potentially maybe not gonna happen. But
dude, Dana White, the UFC guy, was like, he was in the chat like 2 minutes after Zuck put out that tweet, like, let's make it happen. He's like, this is gonna be the biggest fight in the history of the world. This is bigger than Ali Frazier.
So here's the pre-market report. Dimitri usually likes to go to the SPY to get, so you go up to the filter in ETF, SPY. You can see what the 506 largest companies are doing today, and not much movement. 5 up, 4 down. The biggest, most active in the pre-market, and there's Tesla. One of them is down. I did see Meta was up in the market, so people must be thinking Musk in the cage is not going to be a good look. Do they have to wear like wrestling attire when they're in those cages?
No, this is going to be like, MMA style, to the death. You got to have your money on Zuck on this one, man. Unless Elon somehow, supposedly Elon's a big dude, so there's always accounting for size. But.
Well, big dude is like, he's the same height as you and I.
Yeah, he's your size. He's 6'2", 220.
I think he's a bit bigger than 220, and that's like adult fat, right? That's not muscle.
Yeah, that's old man
his
fat.
plan. He's got a move called the walrus. Well, he'll just sit on you.
Where I can't wait for it. I'm concerned that he's going to have to take, 2 hours a day away from Tesla. That's not a good look. 2 hours a day in the cage with a trainer is not where you want to be. You want to be sitting there grinding, making Tesla more efficient, sending rocket ships to the moon. You don't want to be learning chokeholds. Like that's not his best use of the time.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, listen, in all honesty, relative to the stock, and we've talked about this before, Musk seems to do things, and listen, the stocks eventually seem to go higher, but he seems to do things that take away from his running of the day-to-day business, right? I mean, maybe this keeps his mind fresh. Maybe new ideas come from it. I have no idea. But, for entertainment purposes, it's great.
Well, this is what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, right, everybody knows about Tesla, right? And everybody knows about SpaceX. Everybody knows about Musk and Twitter because he's the greatest, not only the greatest entrepreneur of the generation, but the greatest marketer of the generation. And so he knows how to keep us entertained. And so I don't put it past him that it's more just, look, this is what you do to keep people interested in your stuff. And it's so brilliant. It's hard to even fathom, really. He's genius, the highest level.
I mean, what has he spent on marketing for Tesla?
$0.
Literally, well, I guess now that he owns Twitter, maybe that's part of the marketing budget.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's really, it's his social media that, I mean, people don't talk about it that much, but it drove Tesla's, significance. And I mean,
100%.
it was and is and continues to be a big deal. I mean, he went on there and sold, I remember, a flamethrower one time, and it sold out in like, I don't know, 20 minutes or something.
2 seconds, yeah. You still got one of those, right? You got one of those in the garage.
Yeah, I use it for taking down my weeds. I use it for killing the weeds. It's better than the cancer-causing elements out there. Just a little gasoline and then the torch.
So is the Chameleon showing us anything interesting this morning, man?
Well, what's showing us that Tesla is down. Nothing really interesting. But if you want to move on that, look at and click on the Tesla. You can take a look at previous trade ideas. Now, these were based on yesterday's numbers. So, but you can go through when the market opens and say you want to, take a look, say you are bearish and you are unable to sell the stock, or, don't want to take the unlimited upside of getting short the stock. You could look at a bear call spread for a credit, see what pops up. And right now, as of the close last week, Friday, we had these two spreads available. So, I mean, they're $5 wide spreads. I mean, if you were able to take in 290 on Friday, obviously it was a good spread on Friday, right? But it's the cards will repopulate, the ideas will repopulate. But that's the type of thing you want to look for. If you feel in any way what's going on with Elon and our boy Zuck are bearish or bullish for either the stocks or anything, these are ways you can put little bits of capital to use on one side of the trade or another. And these will put the math behind the trade. And you can dig deeper into the analysis if you click on the option chain here.
Well, maybe Zuck is waking up to the idea of like using socials to engage people and get people talking about Facebook, right?
Is it Facebook or is it Meta?
Oh, sorry, Meta. But get people talking about it, right? Because if you talk about it, maybe I need to pop on Facebook. Maybe I need to get back over there. It's just keep it top of mind for people is it's smart.
Well, I'll tell you what I use Facebook for. I mean, besides pushing our videos out in the morning, is the marketplace.
Yep.
That it is a much better place to explore and see what's locally for sale, or if you're going to sell something out of your garage. It seems like a much better place than Craigslist to me.
Yep.
Because you have a real history behind each seller, right? Who they are, what the community they're in. Another thing that I found good is the areas where I've looked or had real estate is to try to understand what's going in the marketplace. What kind of complaints are there? HOA complaints? Are there limits on STRs, for those not, renting on short-term, that's short-term rentals. In a lot of markets, that's becoming a very negative acronym, the STR. And so just kind of understanding how the community is feeling about short-term rentals is a big deal if it's something you're thinking about doing.
Yeah, you don't want to buy a place and then get, playing on Airbnb in it the whole time and then get rugged. That would be, do you know anybody that's happened to?
Yeah.
Really?
You look at a bunch of, well, personally, I don't, but you look at a bunch of the communities in the Poconos and they're trying to change their HOA laws.
Wow.
Some of them require like a 65% vote. So they're varying. Some have changed. And in some of the markets, in Monroe County, you have areas that were available for, Airbnb rentals are now not available.
Wow.
You can only do months or long-term rentals, which, it definitely changes the value proposition for someone who's thinking about using it for vacation and renting it for, more than just trying to cover the costs. And I don't even know if you'd be able to cover the costs now. But anyways, with the Tesla, it comes right to the options chain. After you click on the card, you can calculate the spread that we had on the trade card, and it will give you all the analysis, your break-even points, where you're going to get it off, what the credit's going to be. You can look at the distribution of this trade, all the data over the last 4 years. So the theoretical value, it was priced at 290 if you got it off there. The strategy over the last 4 years, that's what the value would be as of Friday. So it's just a good way to go through and analyze ideas and kind of work through possible trade ideas. One thing I did want to talk about with you, and I think we mentioned it for the first time maybe on Thursday, was the comments Ken Griffin made about China. And it just, when he made those comments, it popped in my head that this would be a good spot for options, to use options rather than just go out and buy the stocks. And do you see any risks in just going out and buying Chinese stocks? Traded.
Fool me once, bro. Fool me once. I mean, I'm terrified of China, man. I think you got to be terrified of China because you never know. Yeah.
Yeah. And, the thing that we learned as investors from what's happened in the Ukraine and basically the industrial world minus China basically saying we're no longer going to do business with Russia, right? And all these Fortune 500 companies, small entities, having to pull all their resources and capital and basically give up their businesses in China. I mean, McDonald's walked away from their businesses, right? Starbucks walked away from their businesses, took big capital hits, and the stock market basically went to zero for the American ADRs. You're not getting any, it's trading transaction over the counter basically to try to get out of your positions. And, Russia's a way bigger ADR market of companies. So, and Griffin is talking about the bullishness of China, which is great, but there is risk now that I don't think was ever priced into these ADRs. And that's like that they could go literally just, the businesses are still good businesses in China, right?
Just not for you.
Just not for the equity holders. The equity goes to zero. The companies are now run by the Chinese party.
Yeah.
And the equity's wiped out. Bondholders are probably wiped out. Everyone's wiped out.
Yeah.
So, anyways, if someone wants to look through and start going down the research rabbit hole for the options in,
do you guys have a China filter?
well, I was going to show you that, but
yeah,
the problem is that as I am flipping around, usually this is on Dimitri's side, so this is something I'm not doing live typically. What you want to do is go to the landing page. And Rob, let me know if I'm clicking too fast, but I'm sure you know how to do this basic search. You'd go up to screeners and look at stocks. We're just trying to form a a basis. In the article, Ken Griffin gave his ideas, but I think, you could start with his ideas. I think it was the big ones: JD, Baba, and maybe I think there's a trip, kind of like a trip.com. But if you go to country here, you see this?
Okay. Yep.
Click on China. It will organize by all the Chinese stocks. When you see there are 253 of these ADRs that represent Chinese stocks. And then from any of the headers, it's organized by market cap. So the largest ones, which are great places to start. Like if you click on Baba. And again, this is like, if you want to do something bullish in these stocks, but protect your downside, right? Have limited downside risk. I mean, I would like to take in a credit to do these. So I would look for a bull put spread. And there's a whole one there. But then you could also just go to the options chain. Again, we're on Baba. Just pick an out month and just start, analyzing the trades. See the widths. Like here, it's looking like here, right? You see this 70 line put. It's showing that the 211 maybe theoretical, it's a better buy than the theoretical value. Saying Chameleon has it analyzed at 213. So maybe I'd buy this for 211 and sell the 75 above. And let's just see how that prices out. And you can go through the whole analysis again. See your break evens, where you make money, where you move money, lose money. And so showing the strategy's theoretical value is 167. And this is the market. So it's under. So it's something you probably wouldn't want to participate in because you're giving up some statistical edge, right? If you're going to put these on, you want to look, and that's why the trade cards are helpful. But so like this put spread is not showing up as a good put spread to do theoretically. You can maybe still do it and win on it, but it's not showing up theoretically as a good put spread. So I would go back to the stock screener. Let's see what other stocks are showing up in the market. Here's one he was talking about, JD Uniface. Do you know this stock? Excuse me.
No, what is that? Oh, it's JD.com. Okay. Yep.
Leading e-commerce platform in China.
Yep.
So let's click on that.
Do you ever listen to any Peter Zeihan and his breakdown on China?
No, what's he say?
He just thinks well, in general, he's about population and where the population sits on like its growth. So when you get kind of modernization of economies, you get this like reduction of birth rates is very, very common, right? And so you'll get China had this explosion, and then with the one-child policy and all this kind of wealth generation, people naturally have less children as they move to cities and do all this sort of stuff. And what you have is basically the biggest economic or the biggest population bubble ever in history. So they were able to modernize in basically one generation and get people to that point in the wealth curve where they start having less children. They got there faster than any country ever. And what you have now is you have a complete upside down pyramid where all the old people are at the top and there's almost nobody at the bottom. And there's simply not going to be enough workers and economic activity to support the Chinese economy. He's very bullish or very bearish on China. Much more bullish on US with a more favorable population.
So who'd you say this was again?
Peter Zeihan.
All right, because we had Doug chimed in. He says China is on the verge of collapse. This is what he said.
I mean, that's basically the the issue, and it's a huge issue. It's not like, oh great, China's collapsing, that's awesome. China collapses, that's terrible, right? So but how you look at it, when you have these kind of population bubbles or problems or issues, which a lot of countries in the world have. US happens to be one of the best positioned to not have that issue right now. So but it's something to think about when you think about China, and certainly countries within China that are maybe have a lot of their business in China and are not heavy exporters. I just look at it as super risky in the 5-10 year timeline.
Again, I totally agree. And that's why if you are going to play the bullish side or the bearish side, I would use options. So you're limiting your risk and understanding the full scope. Because just buying these stocks into like a retirement plan or something, it could literally, you could wake up one day and that piece of your retirement is just completely gone.
Yeah.
Why? What does he say? Is it just the population? That's the biggest
just
risk?
Population. He's a population, well, he's a geopolitics, but then population is one of his big, he's more like long-term. How does this going to look 5-10 years out? And so he strategizes those sort of things. And so looking at these systems, which are actually really easy to see because most countries have generally good, population ideas, at least population data, and it's easy to see. And what happens when 50% of your population is above retirement age?
And that's I think Japan is close to that as well.
Japan's in similar sort of situation. Similar.
And you do read about, and they're very strict on who they let into the country, right? And it's an island,
totally.
So it's hard to immigrate to, and they're probably not overly welcome if a boat shows up and people start unloading. There's probably not a lot of places to hide, but they have and I get this, occasionally pops into my TikTok or Facebook. They have homes there that are just abandoned, like lots in every area.
People will ask me like, what's the real problem? Because there are a lot of people, we know people, right, personally, who are like, well, great, less population is wonderful. And it's like, well, not if you want utility services, light, power, and roads, because somebody has to actually maintain those things. And certainly you're seeing it in Japan. There are lots of cities kind of in Europe or large towns that's happening in Europe where population is left and hasn't been replaced. And there are whole towns in Japan that you're just mentioning where they'll literally pay you to go there because the town is dead. There just aren't people there, and they're just complete giant, towns with empty homes just sitting there, and they'll go to rot, and they'll, as a world, as a global economy, we have to work through this. We have a decreasing population. We have a population problem that we've never been through before, and we're going to find out how to deal with a declining population. All this hope of like, oh, it's better to have a small population. I'm far more on the Elon side where it's like, well, could be nice, but might be terribly disruptive.
Wait, because when did you get on that side of the population?
Actually, the first time I heard Peter Zeihan, read his book and dove into it a bit. His book, The End of the World is Just the Beginning, is a solid book on the subject where you get this idea of like what's actually happening globally with declining population. And just think about it. You just have to do a rough mind exercise where half the people in your town disappear. What happens to your schools? What happens to your infrastructure? What happens to your town as you know it? You can see
in small town industrial America, you can see it on a small scale, right?
We know what's happened.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we know what's happened. So we've seen it on small scales throughout the world. But this is like a larger issue, and it's slowed because it's birth rate and just a slow declining population as people die and move out of working age into retirement. So it's kind of a moving train that we all see coming. Some people are like, this is fantastic. Other people are like, hold on, man, because this could get crazy. And so it's going to be an exciting decade. Yeah, because he's very bullish in the next decade that China is actually already over. It's just a matter of what's going to happen with it. And what's going to happen to the Chinese party when there isn't an economic model to keep people happy is a big question that they don't have an answer to, and the world needs to pay attention to, because how do people stay in control when the people want to overthrow them? Is a terribly important issue that we all are kind of aware of.
Wow, that was
is that too dark for the
took
community?
That in a way which was spectacular. I have no
this
idea.
Is one of the things when people.
I have no idea how to play. Maybe play China long in the short term, bearish in the long term. But please take a look at the options, analyze the options, limit your risk. Know your upside, and trade small. For sure.
Dude, tomorrow I'll give you, we'll tease it for tomorrow's show. I'll give you the solution to all of this. Solution to population decline and the shrinking economy. What's the solution?
Are there public companies we can maybe participate on the solution?
We'll give you at least 2 tomorrow.
2? Wow. That is an unplanned, spectacular item. I'm going to be thinking about it all day. Any guesses in the chat what 2 companies he may be talking about or what the solution could be? Let us know. Great show, Adam. Really appreciate you filling in for the D-man. I'm bringing a totally different look at the world through the eyes of someone who's more NFT, crypto, social media magnet. How many followers do you have on social media? You want to plug your social media? Do you want to plug anything? NFT apes.
Follow me on Twitter, Adam A. McBride on Twitter. If you search just search Adam McBride, I'll pop up. I don't know. Let's see the follower count today on Twitter. 35,000?
35,000. All enjoying Adam McBride tweeting out. How many tweets a day you think?
I don't even know, man. I don't keep, I really don't even keep track anymore, man.
Did you see my TikTok from this weekend?
I saw one did pop up. It was muted though. You couldn't hear anything. You forgot to turn on your microphone.
Oh, it was so spectacular. I'll show the video of it maybe tomorrow. I was driving to pick up my mother-in-law at early evening. Sun had just gone down. I passed a parking lot behind a mall, and there were probably 6,000 Teslas in the parking lot.
Really?
They must be holding them there for shipping, or it was in Princeton, New Jersey. It was a crazy.
Oh wow! I had to pull
over.
Wow.
I had to pull over. But anyways, great job, Ope, as always. Thanks everyone for joining. We will see you tomorrow, and we'll see Dimitri at the end of the week. Thanks, Ope. We'll see you tomorrow.